So part of this project has been about exploring different technologies for multi-channel audio mixing, and one of the things that we wanted to do was to compare and contrast the different workflow practices from making pieces specifically for a multi-channel system like the one at the L Acoustics studio, and also adapting pre-existing pieces that we have maybe already made in stereo or in quadraphonic sound for the more loudspeakers that are available on the system. And it's been quite interesting to see the similarities and differences in those workflows. So I adapted one of my electroacoustic pieces that I'd composed in 2014, a piece called Stille Lyd, Høvringen, which was made from field recordings in the Høvringen National Park in Norway. And this piece was originally made for stereo, and it was designed for stereo diffusion, so where you take the stereo signal and you multiply it across an array of stereo speakers, and it's just a case of by adding the volume to the speakers around the room, you can create a kind of pseudo surround sound impression. So the great opportunity in moving to work with that ambisonic format is that I could specifically place individual sounds from within the piece to create these ambisonic mixes. For this project, I have gone back to the original sound files and have created a fully multi-channel piece. All the materials are developed from field recordings, and so the piece kind of moves from more abstract parts into vignettes of field recordings that should hopefully collapse on that wall somewhere. So I hope you enjoy. Because I'd originally made the stereo piece with this idea of performing it in surround, I did have a sense of where I wanted things to go. So it was really interesting to be able to do that, to apply these technologies and to create this multi-channel kind of spatial mix of the piece. I think that it really helped to give the clarity to the sound recordings. I think when they're mixed down into stereo, you have all of the sounds compacted into a much smaller space, and so being able to spread them out over the entire area enabled the much more definition of the individual sounds, and lots of the sounds in the piece are these kind of delicate, crunchy textures, so it was really useful for that. And also the movement, the gestures. When you're performing live with the diffusion, you can kind of create some forward and back motion, and you rely on the stereo panning to then create the impression of diagonal motion. But with this, I was able to really create this sense of movement around the audience. So some of the sounds of skiing really were able to whip around the audience and really create this immersive feel for the piece.